So I'm watching First Take, and Stephen A. Smith is saying Tyrese Haliburton is not a superstar. He said in order to be a superstar, you got to be a number one option. You have to be game planned against by the opposition. And you have to answer the call in whatever role you have with your team. Stephen A. Smith is wrong, and he's very wrong on this. You do not have to be a number one option. I grew up on the 80s Lakers, right? And just in watching what I see Tyrese Haliburton doing now, Magic Johnson and Tyrese Haliburton were so much more than the number one option. And nowadays, it's hard to understand that. Really, I should say post-Jordan, it's hard to understand that. Magic Johnson and Tyrese Haliburton decide who the number one option is and where they get the ball. You see what I'm saying? Like, at whatever juncture in the game, they decide if the number one option is James Worthy, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, or Magic Johnson. Or if the number one option is Pascal Siakam, Nembhard, Mathurin, or Tyrese Haliburton, right? You look at Tyrese Haliburton's numbers in game-winning shots and go-ahead situations with 5 seconds left. That is number one option shit. And he does it at a degree that's better than Michael Jordan ever did. Better than Magic Johnson ever did. Better than LeBron James ever did. So what does that tell you about his game? Or what might it tell you about his game? That Tyrese Haliburton is giving up some of that in order to get his team there. You see what I'm saying? Like, look. What if Tyrese... So, there's a stat going around right now. Oh, when Tyrese Haliburton averages 20 points, 11 assists and 7 rebounds, the team is 30-3. When he averages, less than 15 points, 7 assists, and 4 rebounds, the team is 15-16. Right? And they keep throwing that out. But see, but what people don't understand, Tyrese Haliburton is not playing the post-Michael Jordan era game. You see? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is post-Michael Jordan era game. Tyrese Haliburton is not. Tyrese Haliburton is Lakers Showtime Magic Johnson game. He is not post-Michael Jordan. I'm talking about once Michael Jordan started winning, the whole league, right, looked too aesthetically pleasing. I remember when they were crapping on the NBA because the NBA only marketed players. But I remember when they started doing that. The NBA marketed Magic and Larry Bird, yes. But they marketed the Lakers versus the Celtics even more. It wasn't until after or when Jordan started winning did the NBA start marketing players. I'm talking about a single dominant player. In the modern era, that's when it started. And Shai Gilgeous fits that model. Tyrese Haliburton does not. Tyrese Haliburton, if he has poor numbers in certain games, right, it's because he may understand that he is not winning the game by himself. That he needs to bring his team with him. Now, might he need to get better in deciding when he has to take more of an offensive role? Right? When he does have to say, hey, look, Tyrese, you got to be the number one option today. Does he need to get better? Sure he does. Absolutely. And he will get better with that. He will learn to pick his spots better depending on who's on his team. But again, it's depending on who's on his team. Right? So Tyrese Haliburton may understand. Look, you guys think I didn't score enough. Right? But what I know is if my team doesn't come with me, I'm not beating Oklahoma City. It's not happening. And that's very similar to what happened to Jordan for his first, 7 years in the NBA? It was him, in part because that's what his game was, but in part because also he did not have the help he needed. Right? Implicit in saying he did not have the help he needed is that Michael Jordan needed help. Right? And I think that's what Tyrese Haliburton knows. Look, when I used to play, right? Not that I was the best, but I had a great floor game, you know. And I always knew there was someone who was taller than me who could rebound better. There's somebody who could shoot better. There's somebody who could play defense better. There's somebody who could run the wing better. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, if you have the guy that stirs that drink, right? And in my opinion, that was the 80s Lakers. And that was the value of Magic Johnson, right? Magic Johnson, Byron Scott is the best jump shooter I've ever seen. Never a number one option. He was never a number one, or he was never an option player on the Lakers. He played his part, he found his spots, and was given the ball in his spot to shoot. That's not an option player, you know. And Byron Scott, best jump shooter I've ever seen. James Worthy, maybe the best wingman, like running the wing on a break, I've ever seen. Maybe the best small forward post player I've ever seen, right? Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, just a fantastic center with a go-to move. You know what I'm saying? The point I'm trying to get at is all these guys did something better than Magic Johnson did, right? Scottie Pippen did some shit better than Jordan. John Paxson did some shit better than Jordan. Horace Grant did some shit better than Jordan. You see what I'm saying? And so to be the guy who understands what everybody's strength is and make it all work, that's greater than being a number one option. You are more valuable than a number one option. You see what I'm saying? The number one option on Indiana is Pascal Siakam. If Pascal Siakam was not on the team, Indiana does not win. But you know what? If Scottie Pippen wasn't on the Bulls don't win. If Dennis Rodman was not on the Bulls don't win. And, of course, if Michael Jordan is not on the Bulls don't win. That means that other players have attributes you need to win. And just because Tyrese Haliburton understands that to the nth degree, to a degree more than most of the talking heads do, it does not mean that he is not a superstar. Now, if you're calling a superstar someone who actually draws in the crowds, someone who actually has an on-court presence and an off-court presence, right? Because let's face it, it's a lot of people right now who are, in a sense, superstars. And I don't really know what the fuck they do, right? I just heard about this. The biggest TikToker in the world is getting deported from the United States. Well, I know TikTok is huge. And if he's the biggest TikToker in the world, in some circle, this cat got to be a superstar. I know that. I don't know what he does. You know what I mean? And in that same sense, but look, it's the same reason why people keep saying, well, how come a foreigner ain't the face of the league? They've been the last so many MVPs, and they're the best players in the NBA. Why aren't they the face of the league? Because they ain't got no personality. Right? So I don't really know the context in which Stephen A is saying that Tyrese Haliburton is not a superstar. You know? I know most of it, I think, because he pretty much explained it. Number one option, game planned against by opposing teams, and answers the call in their role and whatever responsibility they take with their team. But it's just that the first one is the one I think is bullshit. And I think the first one is derived from him and guys like Chris Broussard and guys like can't think of the name. He was on with Tony Kornheiser on that show. Mike Wilbon. Yo, they all came up on Michael Jordan, man. Michael Jordan is the consummate number one option. When someone speaks of a number one option, they're going, Michael Jordan is the name that pops up. If number one option is in the dictionary, Michael Jordan is a face right next to it. And that's what the NBA, since the 80s, that's what the NBA started to promote. They started to realize that one superstar is worth two good teams. Two very good teams, especially like now, if those teams are in a small market. Playoffs have been fantastic, but you just got two small market teams. And so it's harder to promote, you know? So when you see this list that Stephen A, the criteria to be a superstar, just remember, Stephen A is on Jordan's jock. Broussard, Will Bond, Stephen A, cats like that, they all came up on Jordan. When Jordan came, the money went through the roof. And it's because Jordan, and I'm telling you this personally, even though I believe Magic Johnson is the best player ever and is my favorite player ever, Jordan is the most aesthetically pleasing player I've ever seen in my life. He's going to win the battle of the highlight reel. And again, people keep asking why these foreign players who won the last so many MVPs aren't the face of the NBA. Hey man, some of them just don't win the battle of the highlight reel. Nikola Jokic is going to be underrated in time. I'm telling you that right now. I already know it. Give it 15, 20 years. Wait till he starts to get old and his being old starts to manifest itself on the court. And then wait till he retires and people go back and look at his clips and look at some of the stuff he did on the court. Because nowadays people ain't going back to watch a whole game. It's not happening. They're going to go back and watch clips. And when they watch the clips of that dope ass jump hook, you know, and look at him shoot that three. Look, he's 7 feet 11, 7 feet tall, shooting three. When they go back and watch it, it's just not going to be that impressive. It's not going to be half as impressive as Jordan. They're going to say, oh, look at that dude with that dab bod being effective. That's what they're going to say. How do I know this? Because the value of Magic Johnson does not reflect in a highlight reel. Right? The value of Jordan does not necessarily reflect in a highlight reel, but it reflects more. See what I'm saying? Tyrese Haliburton, when everything is said and done, he is not going to be considered as good as what we all know he is. Because the highlight reel won't reflect it, and in time, people will forget. You know? And that's kind of what I'm getting at here. The reason why the number one option thing is important to a guy like Stephen A. Smith is because a guy like Stephen A. Smith values what Jordan did more than what other players do. Am I saying that what Jordan did was more valuable? No. I'm saying that a guy like Stephen Smith, a talking head like Stephen A. Smith, they value that more, right? And it's funny. Right before this, they showed a clip of Tyrese Haliburton talking about how he doesn't listen to the talking heads. They're irrelevant to him, right? Most of them don't know basketball, don't know what they're talking about. That's what he said. Stephen A. Smith took it personally. Tried to make it seem like Tyrese Haliburton took it personally, but Stephen A. Smith took it personally. It's the opposite of what they believe. But the bigger thing is this. Now they're on TV talking about it for 3 hours or 2 hours. They're on TV talking about that for 2 hours. What's Tyrese Haliburton doing? You see what I'm saying? I mean, was Tyrese Haliburton asked a question about media criticism? The way he answered, I suspect he was asked a question. And then when he answers the question, you get on TV and say he's sensitive. He answered the question how he answered the question. He ain't hating, he ain't being sensitive. Right? But that's the way the media is now. You know? And it's going to be hard for Tyrese Haliburton. Tyrese Haliburton is going to have to undo what's kind of been established since about 1988. Since about 1988, the NBA wanted Jordan to be the face of the NBA. Right? The dude has an appeal that is just awesome. Not necessarily because of his personality, but his game and his aesthetic, his look. And it was that good. And the NBA's wanted that. And ever since, like I say, like 1988, the NBA pushed that. Push that. And now, you know, you get a dude like Tyrese Haliburton, who's not considered a superstar. But Tyrese Haliburton may just understand that he's not winning by himself. No player wins by themselves. And he may just be a master at saying, yo, I need this guy to come with me, and this guy, and that guy, and that guy, and that guy. If I get these cats going, everything is going to be okay. And so in a game in which he scores 15.7 rebounds, 4 assists, right? Where the media is now looking at him saying, yeah, he didn't show up, this, that, and the other. Maybe he just understands the broader picture. Maybe he understands that in a 7-game series, it's important that my teammates know I'm going to play the right way, and I'm going to keep giving them the ball where they need to get the ball to be successful. And if you didn't get the shot this time, or you had a bad game that last time, I'm still coming to you, because we're not winning without you, right? And if he just moves the way he moves because he understands that, you can't then say he's not a superstar, or he don't fill your stupid ass criteria for being a superstar. He is deciding who the number one option is, and he's deciding at what juncture in the game we need to get it from that person. James Worthy was a number one option, Kareem was a number one option, and Magic was a number one option. Magic decided who got the ball and where they got it and in what situation they received it. You understand what I'm saying? It's bigger than just a number one option. I guess this is kind of a response to the game last night, and that's what I saw last night. Last night I saw Tyrese Haliburton do what he had to do to get the team a win. You know, and did he do better last night offensively? Yeah, he did better last night offensively, especially over game 2. Obviously, he did. He played better, but the Indiana Pacers go as far as Tyrese Haliburton goes. It's not on Pascal Siakam, right? Do they need Pascal Siakam? Of course, but that team is the engine. Is Tyrese Haliburton, and it's an interesting dichotomy because you got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who will go and drop 30 on you easy. I mean, it's the easiest 30 I've ever seen in my life, especially considering he shoots so many twos. He's not really even a three-point shooter. He could do it, but that's not really his game. But you got Shai Gilgeous, who is like Sasuke, man. You know, I'm watching Naruto with my son. Shai Gilgeous is like Sasuke. And Tyrese Haliburton is like Naruto. Could Tyrese Haliburton do his thing? Yeah, he can. He can. He could hurt you scoring wise. He got some Sasuke in him, but he understands the bigger picture. And because this is my opinion, because I think the way he thinks is so much bigger than how Stephen A. thinks. Again, because Stephen A. grew up on Jordan, man. I grew up on Jordan. It's just that I grew up in Southern California when Jordan was coming up. So the Lakers were always a thing for us, man. They were always on TV. But, you know, there was a station called WGN back in the day. And you could always get Bulls games. Well, we got Bulls games all the time. I don't know why. There's some station called WGN. They show Chicago Bulls games all the time. I think it was Chicago local station some kind of way. But anyway, man, they got Jordan out there, man. Jordan didn't win without, you know, Pippen, Horace Grant. He ain't win without those guys. And that's only to say that everybody needs somebody. And, you know, just because, see, all we respect now is scoring. And if you could score the most points and give us the most highlights, you will be considered the better player. Especially if you could win a couple of championships. That's all it takes. That's all it takes. Right? And again, you know, because one guy is going to be a bigger superstar than the other. And then in time, one guy is really going to be a bigger superstar than the other. Because I'm telling you, man, nobody is going to respect Nikola Jokic's game in 15 years. Scratch that. It's not that they're not going to respect it. They're not going to appreciate it. And the same is going to kind of go for Tyrese Haliburton. The same is going to go for a player like Magic Johnson, a player like Larry Bird. Fantastic players. But they're going to go underappreciated after they retire. Because they will not win the battle of the highlight reel. you know. And then nowadays, the highlight reel extends to your social media presence, right? It's not just what you could do on the court. It's your social media presence. And, you know, you take a guy like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, fantastic player, well deserving of the MVP, don't got the personality to hold the league. You take a guy like Tyrese Haliburton, he kind of does have the personality to hold the league, but his game ain't flashy enough. Then you take a guy like Ant-Man Edwards. That dude's game is flashy enough, and he has the personality to hold the league. If he wants to be the face of the NBA, he could. You know, if he wins, he'll be a bigger superstar than all of them. You know, if he wins the title. And that's kind of just that. That's what I wanted to make this video about. You know, you hear people talking and they remove so much context. You know, you have to establish the context, man. You know, Tyrese Haliburton is not a game that says I'm even striving to be the number one option. Tyrese Haliburton's game says I'm striving to win the championship. I'm striving to win this game. I'm striving to win this series. That number one option shit was the genesis was Jordan around 1988. You know, when he looked like he really had something. That's when the whole thing about, you know, that image really took off. I remember. Anyway, y'all, I'm really enjoying the series. I hope Indiana wins because I get the vibe. I hope Indiana wins game 4 because I get the vibe that presents the best opportunity for the series to go 7. I don't think Oklahoma City is out of this series at all. As a matter of fact, I would not be surprised if they won tomorrow. And if they win tomorrow, I pick Oklahoma City to win the series. But I want to see Indiana win tomorrow because Oklahoma City then puts the series in a more dramatic place. Because I think they can win. I think Oklahoma City can win 3 in a row. I don't think Indiana can, though. Anyway, y'all, please like and subscribe. This is Pure Uncut Lakers, and man, I'll post another video soon.